actually think this is one of the craziest breakdowns we've had the chance to see, with Fire King completely getting shut out of the meta. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. We are back with your Next Play weekly breakdown here. And your highest represented deck in the entire participation of the tournament is actually going to be Fire Kings. Now, take a moment to process that for a second. That not a single one of these Fire King duelists are going to top. And if you've looked at any of the OCG meta as of late going into Legacy, Fire King has just been the gas, swerve, craziest deck in the room. And that's not the case today. Now, our next highest deck over here is Voiceless Voice, actually. I miss Silent Fork so much for the name. Then we have, is that two versions of the fusion? I mean, I can't even remember what the name is. It's the little fairy monsters. You'll know what I'm talking about. We had two Snake Eyes. We had two Flaunderies. Not gonna lie, these Flaunder decks have been absolutely phenomenal. Like, now the OCG, who would have guessed? Flaunder's been one of the craziest anti-meta picks, both here in the TCG and in there. We also had two Lightsworn. That's an oddity. The new support really did put that deck back on the map. Then we have Rescue Ace. I don't recognize the next one. Looks like Infernoid, Ice Jade, Val Monica, Kashtira, don't know. Looks like TG, Runic, Sky Striker, Super Heavy, Naturia, Unchained, this Purely build, and I'm going to say Fallen of Albaz. Overall, this is the meta, all right? Like, diversity is beautiful in this game, all right? And especially, looking at the OCG out here and how things are going, this is genuinely what you want to see. Now, top cut here. Where did all of our fire go? I can't find the fire decks. Can you? I want to give a shout out to both of our Flaunderies players, though. Flunder down here has just devastated the OCG. Like, Flunder is an annoyance in our side of the game, but we tolerate it. But we're just like, hey, board this in and you blow it out. But right now the OCG, they have to deal with Apex, Mega Raiza, and everything else, and it actually has turned into a good deck. Like, I gotta clap for it. It's so freaking funny. Voiceless Voice was your highest seed here, and then we had Valmonica. Yes, Valmonica actually had a showing here. We actually have Unchained and Valence. Valence has a top, I feel like, every single week looking at these styles of events, and it's very interesting to see. Now let's pass on over to deck list. Boarding things off here is actually Voiceless Voice winning the event. Am I surprised? No, nor should you be, actually. The one little Voiceless Voice card that this deck got changed the fundamental dynamics of the way that you want to explore it. I'm intrigued kind of going forward here. What we'll see, the Trice Harakiri is a gosh darn good card. And of course, your rituals are what? Like Asaravis for the protection, the Odd Eyes Pendulum Graph, and then Novox and Friends doing its thing. Also, Dynamon is a very, very good card. But please take note down here in the side deck where you see one Gamma, I believe that's the Spell Negate, and then one Driver. So actually seeing some actual love out here for these Psy-Frames. I didn't think I would see the time that we would be back on these, but you know what? Okay, and we have different Dimension Grounds. Okay. Next up here. Oh, okay. We have two Voiceless Voice decks winning first and second. Delicioso. Once again, see the Skull Guardians, the Sarvis, and the Pendulum Graph, the Trice also doing its thing. You do see that we are playing one of the new Voiceless Voice cards. This build is also playing triple Extrav, as was the other build, but this build also chose to play a Pot of Prosperity as well. With Pot of Pros limited to one there, their deck building kind of has to adjust a wee little bit. And because they're a little bit heavier on things, I do see that they are playing the triple copies of the Dynamon. You just want to make sure that you have enough resources to kind of do your thing. And, of course, Different Dimension Ground doing its thing. That's 2 builds that Different Dimension Ground was able to just destroy the opponent with. And I think that's really saying something here about the meta, everybody. Like, get your Voiceless voice cards now, evidently. Next up here, we have some more Voiceless voice. You mean to tell me that all 3 of our Voiceless voice decks were in the upper half of this tournament? I don't get paid enough to suddenly see that Voiceless voice is, you know, now one of the craziest decks in the meta. Still playing the 4 rituals. Sure, nothing's changed there. I see that we're still double Dynamon. This build played a mini Underworld Goddess and an actual Underworld Goddess. We were feeling very spicy today, I see. And then, of course, this build actually chose to play some anti-spell fragrances. My only complaint about anti-spell is, like, this deck rituals through its monster, basically. Which doesn't really stop, you know, oh boy, anti-spell fragrance. Go ahead and mill, do my ritual summon anyway. Like, you know, we still get around this. If it's for every other deck, sure, but that just kind of feels like it misses a wee little bit of the note here. Now, our last top 4 was actually this Unchained variant. Sporting off, yeah, that's the some Yubel support that you actually are seeing in here. We're not actually playing Yubel, we're playing the field spell for the secondary option of the interaction with the level 0 monsters, which is kind of interesting. We're also playing a cap shell in here as well. Interesting. You know, you're just doing this to kind of speed up the process to make the Unchained Link monster, because, you know, the little gate zeros put the extra monsters on the field for the additional normals. Also, the Unchained package, that's just one of each. That feels so small, but that just proves how good Shyama is as a card. Wonder why it's limited to 1 here in the TCG, right? Yeah, who would have guessed that? Outside of that, actually main decky Typhoon. Okay, sure. Interesting. Next up is our Val Monica list that made top 8. And the first thing I'm going to tell you here is, I don't know what this deck does. Okay? I know, obviously, with the scale systems and setting things up with the markers, you know, you're able to use your opponent's cards to set up and do these things. I've also been noticing that the Link 2 down there that has to do with Sebek has been seeing a little bit more play in some of these more interesting builds, I would say. Also, this build, double call by the 1 cross out, the 1 Pot of Prosperity, standard staple stuff, 2 of the Trap. We are, of course, double Veiler, 1 Nibiru. Yeah, Nibiru would mess this deck up, especially if you're trying to, you know, go down generic combo lines. No Change of Hearts, none of the little extra stuff that you're kind of looking to want to abuse for a deck like this. Okay. Next up here, Lightsworn. Holy crap, like an actual Lightsworn deck. Do keep in mind here, though, that we're not doing any of the nonsense to make the fusion monster. You know, we're just playing the Punishment Dragon. You're doing Twilight Sworn plays. You have triple charge, triple of the Solar. You also play the 1 Shea Ren, so you can actually mill. And this build also plays a card destruction. Also, the OCG does get to play Fairy Tale Snow, which I, too, really wish that we could, you know, have a recurable monster to do its thing. And this build also played double Arrow Shark in the extra deck. I feel like there's a meme somewhere along the way with this build, but hey, you know what? Arrow Sharks getting the direct attack can steal some games. I don't feel like the inboards on this deck are very threatening. You know what I mean? And our last list out of today was the first movement solo deck with the pendulum scales. This actually, it went 3-2. It's not a fantastic finish by any stretch of the imagination, but you do get another chance to see, oh hey, Kaiser Coliseum doing the standard thing out here. We saw Salad doing a lot of this for a little while, but it kind of ended up being a little bit more of a miss per se. but I'm not really surprised about that. Am I surprised to see that this build was able to kind of step up to the meta and try to top? Yeah, honestly. This is another one of those cases of another deck has a good dedicated player base and they want to try out some of the new cards. So, what do you guys think about the breakdown for next play today? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back here in the day, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.